Episode 5, The Campfire Tales opening scene. The episode begins with a picturesque scene of the camp, bathed in the soft light of the evening sun. Julie and the counselors are preparing for a night around the campfire, a tradition at Camp Arawak to bond with the campers and share ghost stories. As the campers sit around the fire, Angela sits on the edge, away from the group, staring into the flames with an unsettling intensity. The camera lingers on her face, her expression distant yet piercing. ACT 1. The counselors begin the night by sharing spooky tales of the camp's haunted past, including stories of David Trenton and the unsolved deaths that occurred in the camp's earlier years. As the stories grow darker and more twisted, the atmosphere becomes thick with tension. The campfire's flickering light casts ominous shadows on the counselors and campers, and the air grows colder. Key scenes. Tommy tells a chilling story about a former camper who went missing and was never found, hinting that the blood moon might be tied to these disappearances. His voice is shaky, his eyes constantly scanning the shadows, clearly affected by the recent events. Kate tries to keep the mood light but is unable to shake her own fear. Eddie shares a story about a vengeful spirit that haunts the camp, taking the lives of those who have wronged it. His tale seems to strike a nerve with Angela, who silently watches him with a mixture of discomfort and dark interest. Her mind clearly elsewhere, Angela mumbles under her breath, "Some stories are more than just stories." The group laughs uneasily, but the fear in the air is palpable. A wind picks up, rustling the trees, and the campers' nervous laughter fades as something feels off. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard in the distance, and the campers immediately grow silent, staring into the dark woods. ACT 2. The counselors investigate the sound but find nothing, just a fallen branch in the woods. Despite the search turning up empty, the tension only rises. When they return to the campfire, they find that one of the campers, Lily, is missing. Panic sets in as the counselors scramble to search for her. Julie insists that everyone stay calm and that they'll find Lily quickly, but her voice shakes with uncertainty. Key scenes. The group breaks into smaller search parties, moving deeper into the woods with flashlights. As Julie and Eddie search near the camp's old cabins, Angela stays behind, staring into the fire, her expression unreadable. She mutters, "It's too late." Meanwhile, Tommy and Kate find a blood-stained patch of ground just outside the camp's perimeter, leading them to believe Lily may have been attacked. But there's no sign of her body. The fear is growing, and as the group returns to camp, they realize Lily is not the only one missing. Gary is also nowhere to be found. ACT 3. The night takes a horrifying turn when Gary's body is discovered near the edge of the woods, gruesomely murdered. The sight of his mangled corpse sends the camp into chaos. Everyone is locked inside the main lodge as fear escalates. Julie demands that no one leave, and the camp goes into lockdown, with counselors on high alert. Paranoia runs high, and everyone begins to wonder if the killer is one of them. Key scenes. Angela is eerily calm as everyone freaks out. She sits in the corner of the main lodge, clutching her knees to her chest and rocking back and forth slightly. Her behavior is strange, and Julie grows more suspicious of her. Angela's earlier comment about stories being more than just stories seems to echo in Julie's mind. Was Angela trying to say something more? Eddie and Tommy argue over the best course of action. Eddie insists that they should go outside and find the killer, while Tommy believes they should wait for the authorities. Kate, deeply unsettled, sides with Tommy, feeling that it's too dangerous to venture out into the woods in the dark. Meanwhile, Angela stays silent, seemingly detached from the growing panic. ACT 4. As the night wears on, Angela becomes the center of suspicion. While the group frantically debates what to do next, Julie confronts Angela, asking her directly if she has anything to do with the murders. Angela's response is chilling. "The camp's blood is on all of our hands." She stands up and walks toward the door, as though preparing to leave, but is stopped by Julie, who grabs her arm in an attempt to stop her. Angela looks at Julie with cold, dark eyes and says, "You should have listened." Key scenes. In a tense standoff, Angela's cryptic response adds fuel to the growing suspicion. Eddie and Tommy both start questioning Angela's behavior more seriously. Was she hiding something? Could she be the one orchestrating the killings, or is she just a victim of the camp's cursed past? The group becomes split between those who believe Angela is involved and those who still want to give her the benefit of the doubt. As Julie continues to interrogate Angela, a new realization dawns on Eddie. Angela might not be the killer at all, but rather a pawn in something much larger. The camp's history, the blood moon, and the strange occurrences all seem to be connected. Eddie starts to piece together the theory that the camp itself might be cursed, drawing its inhabitants into a deadly cycle. Cliffhanger. The episode ends with the camera focusing on Angela as she walks toward the woods, seemingly in a trance. Julie watches her, unable to stop her, when suddenly, Angela turns and whispers just loud enough for Julie to hear, "You can't run from the blood." As the camera lingers on her face, the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, echo from the darkness. Someone is coming. The camp is no longer safe. Themes in this episode: fear and paranoia. As fear spreads throughout the camp, trust between the counselors begins to break down. Everyone becomes suspicious of everyone else, and the murder of Gary shatters any semblance of order. The past haunting the present. Angela's cryptic comments about the blood on their hands underscore how deeply the camp's dark past continues to influence the present. The murders seem to be part of a larger, cursed cycle that no one can escape. The unreliable narrator. Angela's behavior is erratic and unsettling, leaving viewers unsure of her true role in the murders. Is she the killer, a victim, or someone lost to the camp's horrors? The ambiguity keeps the audience on edge, questioning who they can trust. The night around the campfire ends in terror, and the counselors realize that something far worse than just a killer is stalking them, something tied to the very land they stand on. Episode 6, Into the Woods. Opening scene. The episode opens with a close-up of Eddie sharpening a hunting knife in the dim light of the lodge. The air is thick with paranoia and fear. Kate, standing beside him, loads up a backpack with flashlights, maps, and supplies. The two have made a decision: they are going into the woods to uncover the truth behind the murders. They know it's dangerous, but with Gary dead, Lily still missing, and no sign of help arriving, they can't just sit and wait for the killer to strike again. Julie tries to stop them. "We need to stay together. This camp is falling apart." Eddie shakes his head. "And it's going to keep falling apart if we don't figure out what the hell is out there." Reluctantly, Julie lets them go, but not without warning them: "If you don't come back before sunrise, we're locking the gates." "I won't risk anyone else." As Eddie and Kate disappear into the woods, the camera lingers on Angela, watching them go. Her expression is unreadable. Act 1, Into the Unknown. The deeper Eddie and Kate go into the woods, the more unsettling the atmosphere becomes. The trees seem unnaturally twisted, their branches curling like skeletal fingers. The deeper they go, the quieter it gets: no animals, no wind, just an eerie silence. Key scenes. Kate finds a piece of Lily's torn pajama fabric caught on a tree branch. It's blood-stained. They exchange worried glances but push forward. They stumble upon an old, abandoned campsite, seemingly untouched for years. Rotten tents, burnt-out campfires, and half-buried belongings litter the area. It looks like whoever was here left in a hurry or didn't leave at all. In one of the tents, Eddie finds an old journal belonging to a camper named Mark Henshaw. The entries start out normal: summer camp stories, games, swimming. But toward the end, the handwriting becomes frantic, talking about the things in the woods, and how they don't let you leave once you hear them whisper. The last entry is chilling: "The trees move at night. They don't want us to leave." Act 2, Something is watching. As night falls, the atmosphere in the woods becomes unbearable. The air grows thick, the shadows seem darker. Every crack of a twig makes Kate flinch, every gust of wind feels like a whisper. Key scenes. They hear a girl's voice calling for help. It's Lily. But something about it is off. It's distant, echoing in an unnatural way. They follow it hesitantly. The voice leads them to a grove of dead trees in the center of the woods. In the middle stands an ancient stone altar, covered in dried blood. Bones, both human and animal, are scattered around. Hanging from the trees are crude wooden effigies, twisted figures made from twigs and bones. Kate suddenly starts whispering in a voice that isn't hers. Her eyes go blank, and she mutters words in an ancient, unknown language. Eddie shakes her, snapping her out of it. What the hell just happened? Kate stammers, "Something was inside me." ACT 3, the major twist. As they turn to leave, they spot something at the base of the altar, a hidden trapdoor covered in moss. They pry it open and descend into a damp, underground tunnel. The smell of decay is overwhelming. The walls are lined with old photographs, newspaper clippings about missing campers, and symbols carved into the stone. At the end of the tunnel, they find a mass grave. Decayed bodies of past campers, some decades old. And then, they hear it. Something breathing. From the darkness, a hunched figure emerges, a creature covered in matted fur, with hollow, sunken eyes. Its mouth opens too wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. It moves unnaturally, its limbs twitching, its head tilting at an unnatural angle. It smiles. Then, it speaks. "You shouldn't have come here." The screen cuts to black. ACT 4, back at camp. Meanwhile, back at Camp Arawak, the situation is deteriorating. The campers are terrified, and Julie struggles to keep order. Angela has locked herself in her cabin, scribbling frantically in a notebook. She keeps writing the same phrase over and over, "The woods remember." One of the campers, Chris, swears he saw something moving in the tree line, something too tall, too thin. When Julie investigates, there's nothing there, but deep scratches have been carved into the trees. Tommy and Julie barricade the camp's main entrance. "We're not letting anyone else in or out until morning." Suddenly, a loud knocking echoes from the main gate. Someone, or something, is out there. The camera slowly zooms in as the knocking continues, louder, more insistent. Then, silence. And then, in a whisper, a voice mimics Julie's own voice. "Let me in." Cut to black. Cliffhanger ending. The final shot is back in the woods. Eddie and Kate, frozen in terror as the monstrous figure lunges at them. Kate screams. The screen cuts to black. End credits. Themes and takeaways. The woods are alive. The surrounding forest isn't just dangerous, it's sentient. It has a memory. A hunger. A force beyond the killer. While a human killer may still be at play, something older and darker is lurking in the woods, and it's been there for decades. Angela knows more than she lets on. Her writings and erratic behavior hint that she has some connection to the horrors unfolding. Is she a victim or something more? Next episode preview, Episode 7, The Hollow Ones, the truth behind the creatures in the woods. Who, or what, is trapped beneath the altar? Will Eddie and Kate make it back alive? And what's waiting at the camp's front gate? The horror is only beginning.